Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays with some AI stuff. In this edition, I'm bringing you, I think this is part 5 of the Figma Console MCP demo. And in this one, I'm going to talk about the benefits that this MCP has for Figma plugin development, which is one of the main reasons why this MCP was created. So I'll just take you through. This is a plugin that I'm working on right now. It's called Component Adapter. The purpose of this plugin is to help us with some of the internal things that we work on, where we want to utilize a component that we see in another design system, because there's only so many ways that you can build some of these lower level components. And we like the metadata for those components. We like the variants for those components. We like the general structure and token organization of those components. So why recreate almost that exact thing within our own design system when we should be able to copy that component into our design system, but then have it somehow adapt to our internal components and token architecture? So what the component adapter does is, when you copy and paste that component from that design system, like I just did, I just took it from this CBDS, that's this dialog component, and then I popped it in here. And then what it should do is run through, look at all the nested components, look at all the values for the properties, and then intelligently match the reference tokens from the other design system to our token architecture taxonomy. And then it uses a little AI to understand what the value is for that particular property, whether it's like a box shadow, and then it'll match it with a taxonomy of box shadow in our token architecture, and then try to match it up with a value that's similar to what we would be using in our design system. So as you can see, it just ran through and then it replaced their buttons. So it'll also try to look at all the nested components and then match it up to whether or not we have nested components on our side, and then use those component instances. Where it can't find a component instance, it'll put this little red thing around it. But one of the issues that I'm having with this right now is that it's having trouble with some of the inner pieces, like the type is still pulling from the CBDS component library when it needs to be pulling from the altitude component library. So one of the ways that I'm typically used to debugging Figma plugins is by using the Figma console. So here I have it outputting a bunch of information down here that's going to indicate to me whether or not some of this code is working. So I can see that it's not. What I'm going to do is take a screenshot of this and say, hey, I want you to see that it's still working. It's still looking inside the CBDS design system. And then I'll go over to, this is Claude Code, and I'll say, I'm going to use this troubleshoot / command and say, okay, I'm noticing that the type reference is still referencing the CBDS design system, and it's still not able to access the type tokens from the altitude design system. Can you please review the console logs and let me know how to resolve this issue? And then I'm going to paste the picture of the image that I just took. And then when I hit enter, what it's going to do is, since I mentioned that console logs is something that I wanted to review, it should automatically pick up that the Figma Console MCP is an option for it to be able to gain some insights into how it should debug the plugin development, and then it'll run through that, and then hopefully the idea is that it would find something in there that'll lead to whatever the critical issue is that is preventing it from swapping out that token value with one of our token values. Sometimes it takes a moment to review this. That troubleshoot / command comes from a series of / commands for just an open source project called SuperClaude, and it's very handy. I highly recommend it. So as you can see right here, it's pulling the Figma Console MCP, and it's looking through it uses this function Figma get console, and then there's some threshold parameters that are passed to it where if your console logs are huge, it can quickly exhaust a lot of the tokens. So it'll start with like 100 and then it'll kind of keep incrementing its way up. That's what you're seeing right here in this 970 lines that it's poking through. So it takes a bit to look through it all, to do it like an analysis on the what the output is in that console log. But it really gives it a wealth of information and kind of creates this feedback loop. So as the component is introducing new features and trying to fix itself, then it's going to be creating additional console logs, reading those console logs, and then fixing the things that it missed in the fix that it tried to do. So let's see. So it's going through, and here's some console logs that it found. It said it found the root cause. It always finds the root cause. Looking at the console, it could see the critical issue. It says that it's looking at this shallow selected node only, and it looks like there's some old code that's running through there. And then so we ended up changing the plugin ID to see if we could break some cache. And so it's running through, it's reading the plugin manifest. So it's this is just a little example of kind of a recurring thing that you would be doing over and over with it. What you would train the AI to do in this situation is anytime if there's a new change that's made, log those as console logs, so that way when it's testing those changes, it's able to then make the changes, read the console log, check to see if there's the appropriate information, like what it's looking for, whether it's like kind of a pass or a fail situation, and then continuously loop through that to fix it. This is very similar to the Chrome DevTools MCP. If anyone's ever used that before, it's a super handy MCP if you're doing anything that's like in-browser development. So anyway, I hope this helps if you're doing any Figma plugin development. I find it super handy. It prevents me from having to like copy and paste giant console logs or take screenshots of giant console logs. This just independently handles it within the process of the AI assistance code development. So, all right. Thank you all for listening, and until next time.